We have to address the elephant in the room. There
What's that?
is a commenter. I'm trying to find him right now. What is the name of this commenter?
Israel Curtains.
Israel Curtains.
Right now, it's Israel Curtain. It'll be.
He's hanging in there, bud.
That is the most epic name.
Yeah.
That is a great troll right there. So
Yeah.
good on you.
Amazing names.
He's hanging in there.
Let's. Should we try to guess who we think that troll is, or should we leave that?
No, I think we
Leave that one out. Okay.
We know who it is.
All right. We'll leave that one out. We'll leave the anonymity. What? How do you say that?
Yeah.
Anonymity.
Amityville.
No, not Amity, you dummy. It's anonymity.
Ancestry.com.
Animosity.
Animosity.
Dude, you guys don't even know English. You guys
Animosity?
know a thesaurus or what? What is wrong with
A mop in a city.
a mop in a city? What is wrong with you guys this week, man? It was
I liked it better when we were guessing words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you like it better. You don't want to talk.
I had
Real quick, let's say hi to everybody.
Let's do it.
The time out of their Friday evening to sit down and watch us just sit around and talk. We got Herman Lloyd. Oh, Jesus Tilapia is here again. I love saying that guy's name. Jesus Tilapia. We got Big Clive in the house. Mr.
We got a lot of
Cake,
people, man. Jonathan
Deere.
Hughes, Jason Johnson,
Post-stop streetlight. Huh? I don't know what that is.
Last time, Chipmunk.
Jonathan Hughes. You made some really good movies in the '80s, bro, and I gotta give you
Yep.
credit for that because,
Big
like,
props.
seriously, the entire Brat Pack owes their popularity to you.
Yeah.
Are you speaking English right now?
Come on, dude. John Hughes.
John
The
He,
Brat Pack?
actually, the dude who
greatest.
filmed the
Goat.
music video that I was in was the understudy of John Hughes.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can we play that music video, Adam? What
Can we,
music
can,
video?
can
is
we
that?
do that?
Not tonight. We'll do that.
I think we should play that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe.
not tonight. Some other night when we're having more
I think
fun.
that you should make a thumbnail for a week that we don't have a guest, and it should be like Adam's, image in his music video or something, and then we'll start
Let's
out the
do
show
it.
with music video.
Let's do it. Then we can go down the dark road. Of
Let's go ahead and send you guys down a rabbit hole. Just Google Adam and try to find a music video. See if you guys can find it before we do.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
Probably wouldn't be very hard.
So how was your guys' week?
Awesome. Not boring at all.
I had a
No?
leaky flare.
You had a leaky flare?
Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
But I don't think it was. I think it was because the flare was bumped. It was in a really tight attic, and we hooked up the air handler and had the air conditioning running, so it was manageable up there. And then we were working up there around the lines, around the unit, around the connections, adding all the ductwork and everything. I kept telling everyone, "Don't bump that. You're getting really close. Don't bump it." I think we bumped it.
Yeah. So I want to get
Wait,
into
you
that.
bumped it and it started leaking. You bumped a flare and it started leaking.
I mean, the line coming down.
Did you hand tighten it with fucking Play-Doh hands?
No, we did. I used an actual torque wrench and everything. You know.
No way.
Torque wrench. Mm.
That might be your
Should've-
problem. But
That
got a
sounds Chris
picture of
if he uses
that,
a torque wrench. Chris,
Let's-
you use a torque wrench?
let's I think we should go ahead and bring on our guest.
Yeah,
and
let's do that. Let's do
a
that.
little
I
bit
think he's
more.
there anymore.
Hopefully he's there. Yeah.
Wait. Who is our guest? Since we don't have wrestling music to intro, I mean, assuming nobody read the description whatsoever. I mean, we got Trevor Matthews. on
We
the
got
show
Trevor
tonight.
Matthews.
We got Trevor Matthews, the real man with the golden voice from Nova Scotia.
What's up, boys?
What's up?
going on?
This
I'm
is
glad
it.
you could take some time out of the spot you have co-hosting the HVAC School podcast and be with us tonight.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for the invite again. I was waiting for it. I was just counting the months, and it finally came again. So I
We've been
appreciate it.
planning this for what, like a year and a half? It's been in the works for a very long time. Our people had to talk to your people. It was a big thing.
Yeah, no, those contracts, they get tough.
Uh,
Lawyers, eh?
There's a
Such
lot of
issue.
negotiating, but
I apologize too because for the life of me I could not find the green M&Ms to send them to you. Like I know you had that in your writer, but I just couldn't figure out how to find just green M&Ms. So
as long as nobody made eye contact with you like they weren't supposed to.
I think. What's up, HVAC time? Good to see you. I think Bill nailed it though. He called him and he talked to his manager. He's like, "Let's get a conversation started." Bam.
Yeah.
damn,
Boom.
problem solved. Got the catchphrase. There we go.
Like, I wouldn't even have thought about that, but every time you see Trevor on social media, he's like, "Let's get a conversation started." I'm like, "Huh."
So
let's.
let me ask you about this. So that has become, I don't know if that was intended to be your catchphrase,
Trademark
but it
it, man.
became your catchphrase,
Awesome.
right? Did you plan on that becoming your catchphrase, or was it like accidental that you said it the first time? How did that work for you?
Well, I always love getting a conversation going, so I'm like, let's try it, and so
Yeah.
let's get a conversation going. And it just I didn't even notice, to be honest, at first.
Yeah,
My
okay.
sister actually started watching some of my YouTube videos, and she's like, "You got a slick." I'm like, "What is that? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
You know, when you say, "Let's get a conversation going," or "Hey, it's Trevor Matthews." You
Yeah,
know, it's,
Is that Canadian slang?
yeah. I
No,
guess
with-
Never heard
go
of
with
that.
And the reason why I asked that was because with my videos and stuff, I never went into it intending the whole big picture diagnoses thing. It was just something that like I again started making them for my guys. That's why I started making videos. But in the thing, I would always say, hey guys, just look at the big picture. Like it's so easy to do that. And then that became like a catchphrase, like kind of accidentally, you know, the whole big picture
We gotta
diagnosis.
get a
Do you guys-
catchphrase for
Do you
this
guys see
show.
how Chris just moved laterally to his plug?
Yes.
Exactly.
That was
Yes.
smooth.
Yes.
And then after I
my
developed a
stuff,
slang,
okay.
after I developed a saying, then I developed a merch line, which by the way, you can see this merch line at HVACR.
Click the link. Yeah.
Click the link, grab a hat, maybe throw on a shirt.
By the way, hats are back in stock. HVAC.
There you
Good cause. These are
There
good
you go.
cause.
See, there you are.
Oh boy.
It's true.
Somebody's got to keep those kids in Dubai working.
Yep.
That's all right.
Oh man.
It's all for a good cause.
Well, thanks for having me. I really
So
appreciate
Trevor,
it.
what has been going on with you? There's been a rumor that you're no longer with Emerson anymore.
Yeah. Beginning of the month, I started my own venture, really to bring education and training and mentorship to the industry in a new way, I guess. A little bit different than it's been done before. So just trying to, bring what I have to more
Now,
people.
How are you like what is the platform you plan on doing this? Like how are you bringing this training to the masses? Are you like traveling or online or just releasing materials, books, videos?
That's a good question. No, it's going to be a lot of different
Only
ways.
one I wrote down.
Yeah. So I'm going to do it in person, but not right now. My whole goal is to do a blended type learning environment. So working with contractors, building their teams by, doing virtual trainings and then coming in and doing hands-on trainings with them as well. Not at that point yet, just because of what's going on in the world today, but that's my goal.
true.
So right now I'm going to be doing virtual online trainings, just really helping develop the teams and doing it in a different way than just sitting on a webinar.
That's cool. Yeah, it sounds interesting. It's got to be exciting because, in a way, I love being a service technician. I love going out and helping customers and fixing things, but there's times that I wish I didn't have to do that.
You just
Like
train
sometimes
people.
it sounds kind of cool. I've entertained the idea, but it's just not practical for me. But it sounds romantic in a way. I guess that's the right word or something. Like it sounds interesting. It sounds something.
Was this always like something you sort of had in the back of your mind as a maybe a future endeavor, just a side hustle, or something you were just like the main guy at Emerson yelled at you one day and be like, you know what, mister?
To be honest, I didn't know that I really love training the way I do and educating technicians and talk about refrigeration. About 10, 12 years ago, I was contemplating starting my own business, like refrigeration contractor business. And then things happened in my personal life and I started just working, traveling, and then ended up at Emerson doing business development, where I just started working with contractors, teaching them about solutions and teaching them and training them on stuff, and then really had them develop or work with them. And I developed this training role for Emerson because there was not really a training person, just people did it ad hocly or whenever they decide to do a training. And so I really started to enjoy just working with technicians, working with contractors, and just seeing them progress. That I got a great feeling of that. And after training, guys would come up like, that is so awesome. Like I knew a lot of the stuff, but these 2 points that you told me, it just changing my game and troubleshooting now. You know what I mean? And then I just really started learning about how to train. So I've actually I went to university to take a adult training course to really understand how to best train technicians, because we're a different breed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not just like any standard
that
human being out there. We think differently, we act differently, and I wanted to really understand how I could bring the best value to them when I'm talking refrigeration, HVAC, or whatever.
So before I forget, that was something I was thinking about. Do you have any tips or recommendations for like guys? Like I know I work with greener guys. Adam, I know he's got a guy. Chris has got an apprentice. Joe just fired his apprentice for asking more than 3 questions in a single day. So do you have any tips of like the best training way, or like just tips and overall to help train some of these newer guys? Because not only is it do we learn in specific manners, but I think also a lot of these HVAC guys don't, like nobody showed us how to teach other guys. They're just like, all right, well, you're experienced, you teach that guy now.
Yeah. The best thing to do is make processes, systematic approach to troubleshooting. So how you go into a scenario to do troubleshooting, it's going to be the same thing every time. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to work on an air handling unit, you're not going to go in differently. You should be going in the same approach. If you're working on a condensing unit, it should be the same systematic approach. You start at one point and you end at a point. And as leaders, if you want to learn how to train, you need to write that out for them. And over time, they'll start to understand. Because if you go in and first I start adjusting the TX valve, or I go in and put gauges on right away, or I go and I start putting a temperature probe, and each job you're doing it differently, you're never going to have, where should I really start? Like, go in and talk to the customer. The first step, find out what's going on. Build that relationship with the customer, because your customer is going to want you to come back. They're not going to be like, oh, you're here again? Oh, I can't. You're always here.
Yeah,
or you want them to say, thank you for being here. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm so glad you came here so quickly to help me out. Build that relationship and then teach them a systematic process. And if you don't know that, some people don't have them. They just go in and they just, fire from the hip. Learn that. Develop one for them.
There's so much. I talk to all my guys whenever we're doing it. The first start of your service call is to go, and I'm okay with this with my guys too, to go in before COVID, shake the manager's hand. Like things are a little different now, elbow bump, whatever you're going to do, and talk to him for a minute. If he has a moment, ask him how things are going. Then, you don't got to spend an hour on that, but then lead to, okay, so what's the problem today? What's going on? And what's interesting is what I find is if you have a more relaxed conversation with the point of contact, the manager, the supervisor, whatever it is, you'll actually get more valuable information from them.
Chris, this is when you usually get really pissed off and you start calling us and texting us and stuff like that. When you talk to the manager, you're like, this fucking guy, he's calling me at 8 o'clock on a Friday night and he's known has been down for 2 days. What the hell is wrong with this idiot?
Yeah. But having that conversation with them and getting, taking the edge off of the whole, you're here to charge them money. Like, hey, I'm here to solve a problem, and then you get more information out of it, and they'll actually give you information without even knowing that they're giving it to you. You start asking them what started happening? When did it happen? Well, maybe you shouldn't ask that. That's one thing I tell people not to ask. Don't ask them when it happened. Okay. Don't ask them when they noticed it. Leave that one out of the picture, because that's what pisses you off. But
like somebody's fired up about your elbow pump.
Yeah.
7 a.m. this morning it went down.
Yeah, exactly. It's midnight and I need it now. That's the one that drove me nuts. But yeah.
But they were just waiting to see if it would come back to life. And
I thought it was in defrost. It's not.
Yeah. I thought it was a defrost yesterday.
On and off switch first.
Yeah.
HVAC time made a good point in chat. Step by step is very important. Big struggle for guys, and I agree. So is that what your approach is, Trevor? Like during your mentorship and your training, teaching the guys the step by step process, you could say, even a service call, how you diagnose stuff, compressor failures and stuff like that. Is that where your goal is?
Yeah, well, that's one of them. There's many goals that I do have, but when you're a technician, and when I first started out, I didn't have an approach. I would go in and just, sometimes I'd throw the gauges on first. Sometimes I'd go check if the fans or the lights are on, or you know what I mean? I didn't have an approach. When you have some sort of step-by-step procedure, it's kind of like if you ever worked on a central air furnace. If you look in the manual, it says exactly that, okay, the thermostat calls, so the relay close. It sends power down from the
sequence
transformer
of,
to the board
of operation, right?
Yeah, the board starts up and so on, and Deucer fan starts, and it goes through just that sequence of operation. Troubleshooting is the same thing.
Yeah.
Compressors,
Yeah.
systems.
Even if you don't understand exactly how the system that you're going to work on, if you understand a basic sequence of operation, that'll give you a general start. It'll get you in the ballpark to understand, okay, this is a furnace. These are the typical things that are going to happen. And yes, each manufacturer has a little bit of a tweak here and there with something, but if you have a general idea and you have a process, walk up to the unit, like I would tell my guys, you walk up to a unit, do not turn off the disconnect. Do not do anything until you find out what the logic is. Do the error messages go away when you turn it off? Like, let's figure this out first. Open it up carefully, check voltages. Before you turn anything off, understand, if you're working on this particular manufacturer's equipment, check these terminals, and then turn it off and then do what you need to do. And, that'll definitely help you.
Have you ever considered in this new avenue that you're pursuing, have you ever thought about going into like trade schools and maybe guest speaking as well as like not really a part-time trainer, but like going in there, maybe even just glamorizing the trades, trying to make sure you get more of this next generation involved?
Yeah, I've been doing that for years, and I've already reached out to quite a few of the schools here in Canada. I think it's very important to do that. I think even more contractors need to do that. Get to know your trade schools, know the up and comers, go and talk to them. If if you own a business, or even if you're a technician, maybe you need to hire a good apprentice. If you go in and have a talk with them, you can talk with the teachers and get an idea of who are some of the top talent in the class.
Yeah, like which one are the dumb shits and which ones are the good ones?
But yeah, that's a huge focus for me. I really want to help the trade schools. I want to help the trade. I'm looking into a lot of STEM to get into even like high schools and grade schools.
Yeah, I was
to
just
talk
going to
about
say, like, if we can get into high schools and really start showing these kids, like, hey, this is a good trade, man. You got to get into this.
I've considered that too. I went to my daughter's high school, like when she had like the introduction to high school, whatever, and I found the the shop teacher, and I was like, hey, what kind of trades are you guys teaching? And we had a little conversation about it. And it's like, man, these schools really need someone that can inspire these kids, because let's face it. I mean, college is not necessarily for everybody. And while I agree that any education is better than none, like I push everybody to everything, some kids would probably do great coming out of high school, getting into the trades too, and they'd make great money too. So,
I mean, I think the money is going to continue to get better too in HVAC, because there's a shortage right now, and
everything's going to get better.
Right. You're going to make more money. So it's not what it was before. It was like, you need to go to school, become a doctor, become a lawyer, get into computers, do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Things are changing. The old mentality is pretty much out the door. The whole mentality of, you're lucky to have a job, you're lucky to be employed by me, you better do what I say or I'm going to throw you out of here. Doesn't really apply very much anymore.
Until I can make more money being a lot lizard, I'll just stay in this trade. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Actually, there's what's that? Herman, what's the Herman in our group?
Herman Lloyd.
Lloyd, yeah, he made a good point earlier on about virtual school. He hates it. That must be different as well for you. It's a different, I guess, avenue in how to approach students online than in person. So how's that? Is it like, how'd you get your grasp on that online teaching?
Yeah, so it took me thanks for the great question, Joe. It took me a while to really figure out.
Canadians stick together.
Joe gets a cookie.
Once again, I take a systematic approach. I with my training, and if I'm working with a contractor, what I'll do is I'll call up all the people in that program first and build a relationship with them and find out how they learn. You know what I mean? Because there's lots of people that don't like sitting on a computer, or they have a hard time sitting on it. So I don't do 4 hours or 8 hour trainings, not at all. Yeah, it's an hour or 2 hour session. And what I do is I do a lot of things that are interactive. So I'll have a question, a polling question, or a video, or something that they need to do research, or use their phone, like doing a little assignment, or breakout groups where they have to work together. So if 20 people, split them up into 4 groups, and there's 5 people in each group, and they have to figure out a problem together. You know what I mean? To make it a little bit different, not just sitting there listen like you're just watching someone talk. You know what I mean? Or just like So try to make it more interactive, and you need to do that every 4 to 5 minutes, because.
And looking at it from the text view, actually, HVAC Shop Talk, Zach, he just reminded me of it. He says, I just like going to work instead of trade school just due to my personality. And a lot of guys don't like going to school because of that. Maybe they just don't like people, put it that way. But I tell you, Zach, or anybody out there, online school, you could get used to it quick. You could get up,
like in an actual classroom, though, you're getting hands-on.
Sure, but online school is nice.
Yeah, I'm the type of person that I am not good at policing myself when it comes to an online class. So I've taken online classes before where, I have deadlines to meet and I have to get this work done and I have to read these slides and do this to get to this point. And I just can't. Now, I've also taken online classes where the instructor was live. I took one with Dick Wers, the commercial refrigeration guy. And it was like a pilot thing. And I took a class where it was live with him. And that's where I got to know the teacher. You got to know his personality. You got to bond with him in a way. And you're like, this guy is a great teacher. But had it just been through slides, for me, that wouldn't have worked. So the approach that you're taking, Trevor, I think that's great. And that would work for me too. And I wanted to say something too. I don't know if this is where you're going. I don't think I'm going to pop a bubble when I say this, but if I could get an individual Copeland compressor teardown class, instead of having to wait every 2 years for the supply house to do it and have 70 people at the supply house, while I do appreciate that, man, if I could get someone with your skills and your knowledge to do a training, in the future where you're traveling or something like that, that would
Thank you.
That would be bitching. That would be awesome to do that. So
I'm down with that. And we do those cost class are invaluable to the industry. We just need more of it. You know what I mean?
Let me preface this with saying I've never taken a cost class. I've heard about them. I've read about them. I've had friends give me the documentation, and I know let me step back. When I was in trade school, we had an informal cost training where we had a person come and we did teardowns on all the compressors. So we got like a 45-minute teardown of them, and that was amazing too, because it's like, because for us guys that tear apart compressors just out of curiosity, I don't necessarily know what I'm looking at. It's like, okay, I think this is happening here. I think this doesn't look right. Oh, that's copper plating. That's what copper plating looks like. I think, to have someone actually tell us, and it's like,
show you.
Yeah.
Even better if
I'm
you're there
hired. Awesome, Chris. I'm hired. Look, we're getting jobs already.
Hey, we'll give you a 20-minute spot on this show every Friday night. How's that?
There you go.
Just cozy on up.
I think it comes to that perfect way of doing it. Like, he's right, Trevor. You can only absorb so much, and the few-hour classes a day and getting the guys involved some way or another, I think it's very smart. I think it's a good way to do it, honestly.
Yeah.
So I got a question that's better than Joe's question for you, Trevor. Sure. So you're in Emerson. You've been there for 10 to 12 years, right? And you've established a fantastic role in the company, really cemented your position in the industry. And then all of a sudden you're taking that stability and you're going to do your own thing. Now, how did that feel? Like,
I would
nervous,
be
scared? Oh, I'd be scared.
That's a great question, Bill. Yeah, I was at Emerson for 7 years, and it was amazing. I've learned so much there, especially about compressors, about systems. Working in the field. Going out for Copeland in the field and working with the contractors on digital project or variable speed or whatever it was, and just learned so much. And I loved everything about it. And I was at a point where I needed to make a decision. Where do I grow inside Emerson, which they offered me a lot of very great opportunities to continue on with Emerson, or carve my own path to make my own brand to affect the industry in my own way. And it was a real tough decision. But I really feel deeply that I can bring more value to technicians, contractors, refrigeration professionals, building my own brand, being able to not be just brand specific and really be able to find out the needs of the contractors and bring that value, and then build these programs where it's not just a one and done training. When I start working with a contractor, I'm hoping to work with them for years.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is the relationship I want to build, where I'll go in and I'll do a 6-week training. Then I'll go in and I'll do maybe a 1-day training or another
Like a
6-week
refresher.
training, you know, in 6 months or a year down the road, or on something else, on a different topic, where I want to find out what the skills that the technicians have, the skills that they're lacking, and how do I build them quicker and make them more competent and confident. You know what I mean? Competent and confident. And that's a big thing. I didn't have a lot of confidence when I was in the field. I would leave a job site, my stomach would have butterflies in it. Did I fix that? Did I not fix that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Drive back 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. And
But I will say something. I want to interject real quick. I think that point that you just made, Trevor, is actually a really good character trait that you have, is the fact that you weren't confident and you were afraid that you left something off or you didn't do something right. There's some people that don't have a worry in the world that go and do things and yeah, it's not my problem, you know, and move on. So that character trait is hard to teach, even though and I'm similar in that way too. I almost say it's an insecurity, because you're like, I don't know, you know, you're always on edge. Did I do it right? But that keeps you on your toes.
Right. And you actually end up catching things that other people would not catch, right? I
tell my guys, if you have a doubt, I don't care if you have to go on that roof 4 times to double check that you turned it on. There's nothing better than knowing that the customer doesn't have to call you back and say, hey, I forgot to turn this on. Or, hey, you know what? I didn't tighten that enough. Like, that character trait is a good character trait. And I think more people need to have it. You need a little bit of fear, you know, to be a good service technician. And that's my opinion on the matter. But sorry.
Yeah, no, and you have a great point there. There's some people that it just doesn't matter, and that's I'm not targeting those people. I'm targeting people who want to learn, who want to get better, who want to grow. There's going to be lots of people, and I've trained thousands of technicians. I've seen them in the classroom where they're just there to get paid, or they're just there to have a day off, and that's fine. But I understand that, but I'm not targeting those people. And if someone's in my program, I'll call the contractor up and say, this guy or this technician, or if it's a girl, whatever, they're just pull them. Here's your money back for this person. And let's
give Brian Orr a quick plug here. Not to interrupt you, Trevor.
But you just did.
I did. I was like, I was literally like this close to forgetting what I was saying. I'm like, I just gotta spew it right out of my face. And so the last podcast you did with Brian Orr, the horizontal scroll compressors.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm about halfway through it. It's fantastic. But like, I've noticed the last couple of episodes you've done with Brian, you guys sort of do this thing where you break down the Copeland documents, you know, the AE bulletins.
The AE bulletins? Great.
Yeah. And it's like, as I'm listening to this when I'm driving, so it's kind of hard to follow you while I'm reading this, but I still do, because I don't care about the other people
reading, listening, and driving, and drinking coffee and having a smoke.
Drinking,
definitely a refrigeration mechanic.
That's why God gave me knees. But it's such a good way to do a podcast, I think. Like, so you have this widely available document, and you're just going through it, listing off and touching on it, maybe expanding on certain things here and there. I just wanted to say it's a great idea. It's a great way you guys are doing that.
Yeah, thanks.
That was a great interruption there, Bill, and totally changed the subject there. So good for you, Bill.
Yeah, segue master.
Yeah, it's beautiful. No, I thought it was really important when I bring it up with Brian, because there's so many great documents out there, and a lot of us do not read them. You know, so
we don't.
And that's how I learned, to be honest. Like, I wasn't a reader. I'm an avid reader now.
Yeah.
Like 2.5 years ago, I didn't read a book. Like, I'd read manuals and stuff and tech documents, but I didn't read any personal development books or the big thick refrigeration books or the Copeland. I'm reading all that stuff right now. I'm trying to learn as much as I can.
Any tricks to reading that material and staying awake?
100%. Yeah. I'm working with, listen to a lot of a gentleman named Jim Quick. You may not have heard of Jim Quick. This guy he's a person who helps you read faster, learn a different way, learn how to learn. That's what he's teaching me right now. And I sped up my reading about 30%. I can read 30% faster now than a month ago. And 2 years ago, I could barely read. And
I'm not gonna lie.
I want to do it. I want to do it because I know there's a lot of dry stuff, especially in manufacturer manuals and stuff. But I want to learn that stuff. This is exactly how I would read a manual. I'd look at the index. I'd see what I was looking for, what I think I was looking for. I'd skip to that page 17 and just start reading. But I missed 7 points in the 4 pages before that I needed to know. And then I go do something. Then I have to go back to the manual. Then I go do something again. I'm back to the manual. If I would have just took the 20 minutes and read that manual, the whole manual, I would have been done the job an hour quicker.
Yeah.
No, see, I read through it, and what I've noticed is I'll get about halfway through, and I'm like, oh, my eyes are just going through the motions, but my brain totally wasn't picking up anything I was reading. And then I have to go back and reread it.
What you do there is when you start thinking of something else, start counting. 1, 2, 3. That's going to stop you thinking about, oh, what kind of beer am I going to have? Or, oh, I can't wait to get to the show on Friday night. Just start, when you start reading, you start thinking of something else, just start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to get you back on track on reading. That's one of his tips, Jim Quick's. I did the exact same thing.
For me, I will read a manual. Let's just use a Copeland manual. I'll read a Copeland manual and, I want to know how a DTC valve works, discharge temperature controlled valve, right? And so then I'll read a manual and I'll do what you did. I'll find I'll go right to that section and I'll read it and I go, okay, that makes sense, And then as I'm doing it, I'm like, wait, there's something missing, So then I'll go back to the manual and it's like, oh, if I read the page before, kind of like what you said, Trevor, it's like, oh, it adds context. Okay, that makes more sense, And I find myself doing the same thing. Like I go back 3 times and it's like, if I'd have just read, like you said, the manual from the beginning, and it's like, wow. And then you pick up other things in the manual too. But what I find myself doing, and I've tried to get better at it, I still haven't perfected it, is I find myself only searching those manuals when I need help. And I don't search them to just better myself. Right. And I need to get on the path of actually reading it to better myself.
I think the problem with that is people get comfortable in the equipment they start working on, they install, right? If you're working on Train, York, whatever it is, you're like, I've been doing this for so long, but they don't realize that yearly or maybe a couple times a year, they change little items, about the settings, about the programming, whatever, that you actually need to know to set it up properly, right?
Now, I'm going to say something that I benefit from. People will reach out to me and they'll say, hey, how does this work? They'll send me an email or something like that. And it's like, I don't know, but I don't want to sound like a dummy when I answer their question. I'll go read the manual, it's really, and sometimes I'll just tell the person, here's the document, read it, but then I'll actually go and read the manual because I don't want to sound like an idiot when I tell them. And then as I'm reading, I'm like, oh, I was wrong. I thought it worked that way, and it's like, so that helps me too, having the whole videos thing, to fall back on.
One of the big things that I learned definitely over the years, you don't want to give people the answers because they're just going to expect, especially younger techs, don't just give them the answers. They're going to want to just get the answers all the time. If you get them into that habit, a lot of what we do is habits. You know what I mean? In our trade. And if you start training them in bad habits, excuse me, they're going to continue that on their whole career. So what you need to do is help them learn, teach them how to learn. And sometimes it's sitting them down and say, here, you need to read this manual and find the top 3 things. What I do in some of my courses as well is I'll take a manual and I will write a little quiz from that manual. So here, you got to read this 2-page manual. It's going to take you 10 minutes or 20 minutes, however long. And then here's 5 questions that I wrote right out of this manual. So what should the discharge temperature be? What should the suction superheat be? What's that low pressure, high pressure control should be set up? And then when they go work in that unit, they already have it in their head. And you should always, I only started doing this a few months ago, and I did it when I was in the field as well, I have a little daily log. My little daily log was my little notepad in my pocket, right? So I'd write everything down, but at the end of the day, I would review what I did.
Interesting.
And that really helped me because, I had a TX problem and I'd write down what the problem was, kind of like a log, but I used to write every time in logbooks. People don't do that. And I learned from it because I used to read the logbooks what the other guys were. And I knew who the leaders were and the guys that were the smartest in the company. So I'd always go find their name and read what they wrote down. They would always fill out the logbooks really good. The guys and the techs that didn't fill out the logbooks, they're usually either really late. It's 2:00 in the morning call. Understandable.
Yeah.
They're trying to hide something. They didn't know what they were doing, or they just don't care about what they did. You know, just those things.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
One thing that that I always realized, I used to try to make notes on things that I knew I was going to forget, right? And after you make so many notes, I always had a problem with, I knew I wrote this down somewhere. Where did I write it? You know what I mean? Like, what book did I write it in? Where is this note? One thing that I've been doing recently is when I find an important document or piece of information or whatever, I'll either take a screenshot or whatever, and then I categorize things, and I have like a Google Drive, right?
nice.
And then you have different categories that you could just go quickly search for what so you're not looking for 10 different notepads searching through it, right?
Good idea.
Yeah. So that's something I learned about 2 or 3 years ago, because I was terrible at putting files in. When I left Emerson, I probably had 25,000 different documents. So I gave everything back, but I had so many documents. But until about 2 years ago, I write like a full description in the name. It takes a little while, but exactly what I was looking in that document for. So in this document, it was the superheat of the CO2 compressor. And that's what I would write in it. You know, just a lot of detail in that. So when I go into my search, because I just search everything now in my files, because I used to have a file, then a folder, then a folder, and a folder, like manufacturer, the valve name. Now I just go in. I still do that, but right in the search, and I find it so much quicker. Just like,
I think it's important for some people too to understand that you're not necessarily going to understand everything the first time you read something. And Michael Hausch said, you know, he read the psychometric chapter like 80 times, and it's still hard to understand. And I know where he's coming from, because psychometrics is insane. But when you understand psychometrics, it's like, it's child's play. It's like, oh, I get it now. I know why this happens. I don't fully understand psychometrics. I continue to learn every time. I took a class one time with a gentleman named Skip
Peanut butter.
No, Skip Krepchick from RSCS. It was a psychometrics class. And he opened doors for me. So sometimes you have that one teacher that speaks to you, and it's like,
I agree.
Boom. Same thing. Ty Brannaman is another person on YouTube, and I met him at the HVAC School Symposium, and he's another person too that he's a very characterized educator. You know, he really brings passion into it, and sometimes it takes those people. But the way, for me, I just have to understand that I'm not necessarily going to understand everything the first time, but I listen, and it stores in the back of my brain. And then one day it clicks, you know, and I can still remember being in trade school. I can remember my dad, because I grew up working for my dad teaching me something, my senior mechanic teaching me something, and then being in trade school. And it actually happened to be about motor starters for exhaust fans. And it just didn't make sense to me. But I was in school one time, and the teacher said something, and then all of a sudden I had this aha moment where everything my dad told me came to play, and everything and it just all blended.
I love that. I love when that happens.
So just listening, you know, and even if you don't understand, of course, ask questions. Take it in, and it will come to you, you know. And like Michael Hausch said, you just keep reading it, and it's gonna click, you know.
Another big thing is when you're reading, you gotta take notes.
Oh yeah,
you gotta have a notepad. Like, I take a lot of notes now, and I'm learning how to take better. Highlight, I used to do that, but I think writing it in grades is a bit better. And my note taking used to be terrible. It's getting better, where I verbatim. You know what I mean? I'm writing everything exactly what you say.
I look at taking notes as like, if I take notes on everything that's important, I'm basically writing the entire book into a notepad, and then I'm like, well, that's silly.
But you'll learn over time, and especially you need a good teacher, and you need to learn how to learn. That's why I'm taking these gym quick programs. Just I
think we might be hurting ourselves by having Trevor on here, because Kyle B said this is a good show tonight. And Kyle, we don't want to set the standards this high.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's not like this all the time.
Slow it down here a little bit.
No, every once in a while we get out of the dumpster fire and.
No.
You know, who was it that said it? Old Troy was making a reference to Adam. The way how's that training your fellow over there, Adam? You're a new hire there.
He's so eager to learn, and you know what? I need to do what Trevor's talking about here and learn how to teach. And that's actually, Nate Adams and I were talking about this the other night, and he was saying, if you want to become really good at what you do, teach, and you bring yourself to the next level.
I think it's important to understand it needs to be the type of personality, like I mentioned, that Trevor is, that I have. I don't even want to say that it needs to be the type of personality like Trevor, that someone who's afraid and worried about a service call, because there can be someone out there that tries to teach and they can teach incorrect information, but it has to be the type of personality of someone that wants to make sure they're giving correct information, that actually studies to give the right information. Because I get the point that you're making.
There's also stressors of teaching on a job too, right? Like you have to continue a job. You can't slow. You could slow down, but you can't slow down to the point of losing money. You know you have a job going on later on that day or the next day, so you have the stress of continuing to move forward, right? So you almost need to set aside time just for teaching, and
you do
not do the whole, do all of your teaching on the job. It just doesn't work, right?
No.
One thing,
small simple steps. One
thing I want to say that kind of sucks, but it's also good too. For me, maybe there's a few people out there that are similar to my age range. I'm 38, and taking notes. We used to always carry pocketbooks. The supply house would give you those stupid pocketbooks, and you'd get them from the supply house and you'd write your little notes in it. And then when I finished a pocketbook, I'd write a date on it, and then I'd put it in my file in my van. And so if I ever had something I needed to remember, I'd be like, okay, I think that happened last year sometime. So I'd go through my things and I'd find my little pocketbook. Here's where I'm bad at this. I have a smartphone, right, that has note-taking apps and all this stuff, but I don't organize it. I just take notes, and it's like, and then I go through and it's like, I'm going to delete all that crap, So I need to get better at organizing myself, because even my horrible organization with the pocketbooks was still better than what I do now.
I have the worst habit ever. If I'm just trying to remember something and it's like I'm on the fly driving or doing something else, I'll just text myself the information.
Oh yeah.
And I gotta just add one little point. You gotta have a lot of patience. Like today, Adam came vent. You need to have a venter as well, someone you could vent to. Because today it was Adam's day. He vented a little bit of a situation that happened today.
Oh yeah, our private chat is toxic, and Adam would end his career if he shared our private chat with anybody.
I think everybody would.
Yeah.
I do have to say this, and that is a great point, Joe. You do need to have a support group. You do need to have someone, some people, something to communicate with, and have someone you trust that you can genuinely vent. And then also something that like the four of us have, because I'm not including you in this, Trevor. No, but the four of us have a chat and we genuinely can vent to each other and know that, someone else Bill might say, Chris, you're being a dumbass. Like, you need to get over that. Like you need someone that can come back to you. So if you are a teacher, you need to understand it's not going to come without stress or worries or different, everybody's human.
Have you ever yelled at a student or physically shaken a student, Trevor?
Not yet. Probably should have, but
yeah.
So like, it's not going very good, eh?
Yeah.
So how right now, like I know you said everything is online. Like, what is your the classes you offer? Are they like full day? You said the hour at a time. Like, do you have
6
also
weeks.
different?
Yeah, so I have a few different programs that I'm offering contractors, and the way they work is that the largest group I will do is of 20 techs. I've done 100, tried to do 100 techs, 80 techs before.
Wow.
I've done groups of 200, but at
like in the same classroom,
on the same webinar.
Oh, wow.
The same webinar, and
Wild.
I can't be personal enough. I can't have that, conversation. Let's get that conversation going. If 100 people ask a question, that would be a whole 1 or 2 hours of the training, right? So 20 is my max. And what I wanted, my goal is to build a relationship with the technicians, because that's what a lot of people do. They need some coaching, they need some mentoring, but they need someone to talk to about what's been going on at their job and how to make their job better. So I will do one-on-ones with the techs that are in the program. And then the programs will last, depending on the customization, because I'm going to customize it for the contractors. It could be 6, 8, or 10 week programs, but I'm offering the 6 weeks to start off, just to get the contractors a feel
When you say 6 weeks now, what does that mean? It's not every day, like,
No.
what does that mean?
So it'll
6
be
weeks.
a one 2-hour course each week for 6 weeks. So I learn about I'll talk with each tech for a half an hour before the training even starts. And I'll get to know them. I'll find out where they're strong at and their strong points in refrigeration. I'll learn about where they're weak at and where they would like to learn a bit more. And then I will build a program around that for the contractor. So, because I'll know these guys are strong here, these techs are, weak in this area. I'll build this program around it. And so then each week, I'll do a 2-hour virtual training. So an interactive training where I'll do a topic. We'll just say it's a compressor topic, and we'll talk about modulation. We'll talk about digital compressor or unloaders and so on. And then at the end of that, I will have them do an assessment, or a quiz, just to see what they retained from the training. During that week, they'll have assignments. So they'll have to go out in a field that's not going to affect their job, but they'll go out and they'll have to, on a certain system, maybe they have to use Cobla Mobile and take it down all the information of the compressor. They need to maybe get the winding resistance of a compressor. Maybe they have to check the suction and discharge pressure and superheat and discharge temperature. There'll be a certain assignments each week that they have to accomplish at the job, which they're going to be doing anyway, when you're doing service calls. And then we'll take up the test or quiz the next week to show everyone I won't have any names, but I'll show the average of the group and go over that quiz just so everyone understands the stuff that I'm talking about and make sure they feel comfortable with the knowledge that I'm sharing with them. And we'll do that for 6 weeks. At the end of the 6 weeks, we'll have a quiz again, an assessment to see over the 6 weeks, what did they learn from that very first assessment that I gave them to the very last assessment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then try to grow them that way.
Hey,
Yeah.
we're getting lots of great information, but I think we failed to mention where people can find more information about what you got going on, Trevor. Where do they go?
Awesome.
I put in the chat, by the way.
Did you?
Great. Yeah. Refrigerationmentor.com. So that's my main my source. I got all the podcasts I've done. The one I did with you guys, the one I did with Brian, Gary McGreedy, as well as I have a YouTube channel that I'm just finishing my studio. I just picked up some great aperture equipment, some lights. My beautiful wife, she's been ordering me a ton of stuff for my studio, so I'm getting super excited to start rolling out some new videos. So you can check out it's youtube.com/c/refrigeration mentor if you want to check out a bunch of free content there. But yeah, check out the website. Check out some of the free content, the podcast, and it's great. I'm going to continue to do that because I really want to share the knowledge I have. But like I said, I want to work with contractors who want to grow their technicians and help develop them over time, not just do a one-day training or a one-off training, really build them and be that mentor for them.
Now,
and I think, sorry, I was going to say, I think a really good point you made, Trevor, is that you're connecting with the service technicians too, because where that I think will benefit you greatly is if that service technician makes a connection with you, then potentially he will take you with him if he was ever to jump ship, move to another place or something like that. Then maybe he would take you to the next company and say, hey, you know what, this guy really helped me out a lot, and then that would be a potential growth point for you too. So that's a great point.
My goal is not that, to be honest. My goal is to help the company where this technician wants to stay at this company, because I don't only want to develop the technician. I want to at some point work with the service manager, work with the owners of the company to really show them the growth of the business.
Right.
There's companies out there. You own a company, Chris. And for example, if you can train your technicians to be the best and let them know there's more opportunity, there's sales potentials, there's project managers, there's foremen, there's leaders. You grow a business by growing your team. And a lot of technicians that are like, oh, where do I go next? So I got all this experience and I know how to use the tools, but a lot of people are eager to grow with inside organizations. There's so many people that don't want to just be on the tools their whole life, because it does get harder, especially in like construction, refrigeration, pushing cases, lifting panels. I've done it for so long.
Yeah.
And it gets climbing ladders, gets hard in the body. So you got to build a culture around training, education, and mentorship, and show them that there's a path inside that organization. Your organization is going to grow. Because
that's a good point. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, obviously there's all different sides of HVAC. So who do you work with? You know, there's commercial, you have refrigeration, there's supermarkets, residential.
question.
Like who are you to, you know, who's your audience?
Specialty?
Yeah, I'm targeting commercial refrigeration contractors. I will do some commercial HVAC contractors on the compression side, but my main focus is to help, you know, supermarket companies out, help any commercial contractor that works on, you know, condensing units, who really want to better themselves in compressor troubleshooting, system troubleshooting. My 3 main courses that I'm offering right now is compressor mastery, commercial refrigeration workshop, which is more on that supermarket side, and a CO2 training.
Gotcha.
CO2 is starting to grow, and I feel bad for a lot of the technicians out there. My buddy called me up, I think it was last year, the year before, and he's like, Trevor, yeah, I just got a call. It was on call, 2:00 in the morning, and it was a CO2 store. I didn't even know it was a CO2 store. I didn't even know we had CO2 stores. You know what I mean? Didn't even know they had it. And I had to figure out how to put a charge in because the rack was flat. You know what I mean? So got to get that information out there and try to share with more people because that industry is growing. So those 3 are my started off.
And I think there's a disconnect in the industry too, where, again, not saying everybody's this way, but there's a lot of companies out there that hire a technician, throw them into a truck, and expect them to fix the world, and then get pissed at them when they don't fix the world, you know, and don't know how to do things. And I mean, on one side, I understand in a weird way because contractors are just trying to survive and they take on any work they can get. But I feel like people are thrown to the wolves a little bit too fast. And people will argue that being thrown to the wolves is a good thing because a lot of people cut their teeth. I mean, that's how I learned too, was by making a lot of mistakes. But I'm going to tell you right now, the mistakes that I made in my career today would get me fired.
Yeah.
Back then, the trade was very forgiving. It is not that forgiving now because customers will drop you in a heartbeat. There is no loyalty anymore. There is no anything. It's just about numbers for majority of the customers out there. So we need more training. We need more emphasis on building and growing technicians and keeping technicians. You made a good point earlier too. I've made mistakes and I've been very public about it. A couple years back, I lost 4 technicians within a month because I screwed up big time. I made some big mistakes where I was super busy and I was way focused on everything else but my service technicians. And yes, there were signs, there was things I ignored, there was things I could have trained them on, all kinds of things. So we all make mistakes, and you know, the best we can do is grow from it. But we definitely need to be working on the training. 100%.
Joe doesn't make mistakes.
No. Canadians don't make mistakes. Canadians are all good.
Nope.
And that's the big thing is really working with the company as a whole.
Yeah.
It's really to help develop, because I've met lots of service managers that they don't know what to do. They feel like they're putting out fires everywhere and they can't really do their job. And that's where I can come in and help teach the technicians because they're supposed to be putting out the fires, not the service manager or the operation manager taking calls all day. And a lot of it to do is with confidence. There's a lot of technicians like, okay, I got to hurry up and finish this job to get to the next job. Well, no, you don't. You need to finish this job correctly and then get to the next job when you get there, and then talk to it and then figure that thing out. Don't rush, because you're rushing, you're making up for something.
Yeah, no. I can't tell you how many comments I get with people that one of the most common threads in my comments is, how many service calls do you get done a day? And my answer to that is, it depends. Every day changes. Because when I go to a service call, I'm working on a service call. Yes, there's that crazy 2 months of summer when you're literally putting out fires, but I'm going back and I'm diagnosing and fixing. You know what I mean? You get it going. But there's so many texts that email me and they say, my company makes me do 9 service calls a day, you know, and for me, I get however many calls done a day that I get done. Every day is different. I don't have a quota that I meet. And again, my texts are the same way. Yes, if they spend all day on a very simple service call, we're going to have a talk about it. Yeah. But I mean, you have to complete the job. You have to do it until it's done. And then you have to answer for that. But I mean, as long as you're doing things right and you document it, hey, this is where it started and this is where it ended.
One thing is too, like you can't always hold people's hand through things that they're, especially in the beginning. It's going to take them time to learn. And if they spend 2 hours on a job, maybe the next time they spend an hour on that job, if they run into the same thing, because they figured it out and they have experience now. So you can't, I know you can't push people all the time, you know?
Yeah, a conversation that I just had with my apprentice the other day, because he's doing really good, and I gave him an accolade for that. But I just told him, I said, look, I said, you're doing really good, and I'm giving you all the time in the world right now, okay? Because I'm strategically picking things that I'm letting him learn on. And I said, but just understand, there's gonna come a time when we're gonna have to work on how long it's taking you to do things. But right now is not that time. Right now is fundamentals. And you're going to take as much time as you need, and you're going to build your way through it. And then once you get really confident at doing what you're doing, we're going to talk, hey, how can we improve this? How can we speed this process up? But right now we're focusing on fundamentals, you know? So I'm giving them free reign, you know, take as much time as it needs. Again, I'm not sending them on a refrigeration rack down or something like that. I mean, we're working on an air conditioner, and I've got plenty of time. You know, take your time, do it right, you know?
Yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
On a side note, Trevor, have you ever considered maybe writing your own materials, your own training materials in the future?
Yeah, I've been working on some stuff. I don't know if I'm going to write a big, thick refrigeration book. I personally, where I want to focus in my space, and I'm going to more focus on the video sides. I want to get into other things like augmented reality, virtual reality, things that are that are already here.
Yeah, I've heard rumors of that coming to the market.
And but there's lots of things. I'm just trying to figure out how that I can affect change in the industry.
Change
getting more
because
getting more people in.
Yeah.
Getting more people in, getting people more pumped up about doing refrigeration or HVAC, getting excited about their job, feeling great about it, going home and spending time with their family. Because this is what I see a lot, is that people are, they're working 80, 90 hours. They're driving me, you know, all I do is work, and, you know, I'm starting to hate the job. Yeah. When I talk to managers about this, the good managers, the good companies, like, I don't want to lose these guys. You know, how do I keep them? I'm not going to run them. I need the jobs done, but I'm not going to run these guys into the ground or girls into the ground, because things are changing. It's not like what 20 years ago or 15 years ago when I was out in the field and I was working 80, 100 hours. I did it because I needed to get the job done. I thought that's the way it was done. You'd go home and you'd drink until 2 a.m. Then you'd get up at 5 and drive back to the job site and start working again and do another 14, 15-hour day. And the times are changing. Like we need to start talking more about mental health. What is going on? Like
that is
after working 18
here.
hours driving, like I remember driving home and just falling asleep at the wheel like this, just nodding and just like slapping myself and not thinking about I should just pull over and go to sleep. I was like, I just need to get home. I just need to get home so I can get some sleep and go back to work. You know, pull over, have a sleep in your truck or your van. Like, it is a career, but you need to think of your family, your friends. You think of it. And this is what's great, that more and more people are starting to talk about mental health. But I see good buddies of mine that have been 20 years in industry, and they're the smartest techs out there. And they're just like, Trevor, I just don't know what to do anymore. Like, I just, like,
it is,
you know,
I'm also very glad that more people are feeling more comfortable talking about mental health. And I think that is something that we all need to talk about. We need to get rid of the stigma that, you know, the trade had for the longest time, that you just man up and suck it up and get on with it.
Man.
That's just how things work. You work 90 hours a week.
That
just
was
dog poop with your bare hands.
There was actually Brian Orr had a podcast. Who was on that podcast about mental health?
Greaves,
Haven guy.
a couple other people. Greaves was a big one. I sent email to Brian because that was a great podcast.
I remember we talked about this before when
right after,
when Brian he actually
thanks, Chipmunk.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. But Brian was talking about, like, when you were coming up in the trade, a lot of times the guy who was teaching you or training you would kind of be a dick to you, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you're almost like you have to do your you have to do your time, right?
Passage.
Exactly.
It was almost a rite of passage for the mentor to be a dick to the trainee. You know, like, oh, this is you're going to learn. This is how you have to accept this. It was almost like everybody looked forward to the point at which they got to be a dick to the mentor, you know, or mentee or whatever you want to say, you know, like,
Mentee?
yeah, we need to pass that.
Mentee.
We need to pass that for sure.
Yeah. And it's the generation has definitely been changed. And talking to my buddies who are leaders of companies now, service manager, business owners, and they're like, it's a different generation of technicians. We need to just get people in here and just show them the right way to do stuff. And I was always proud of teaching someone something and they learned it, because now I don't have to go do that call. They can go take the weekend call when I'm teaching someone something. Yeah. And if I'm a dick to them, why? They'll be a dick to me. Like, it's, you know, just be nice to people. And, you know, there's a lot of people that aren't nice out there. But
you listen to this, Joe?
You know,
Joe, come on, Joe. You need to change the way you're talking to us, okay?
Yeah.
You know what? Trevor got a little show who's talking to who.
The verbal abuse is just
we do
rampant.
abuse Joe. We do abuse him. No, but what do you guys, I want to ask everybody, what do you guys think about social media and the trades? What do you think about Instagram? What do you think about YouTube? Do you think it's hurting the trade or helping the trade? I want to hear responses.
I think it's killing our society, but it's helping the trades.
I agree with you 100%, Bill. What do you think, Trevor?
I think really it's very helpful. Like YouTube, you can go to YouTube and you can go find information to learn faster, quicker.
Yeah.
You can go watch a biography of someone who spent 20 years, you know what I mean? 20 years learning this information, and you can learn it in an hour. There are 20 years of information, or read a biography, but now you can watch it or listen to it. So I see it's very helpful. There are one thing about social media, anybody can say whatever they want. And this was one of the things when I first started getting on social media, when people were talking bad about me, trolls all over the place, you know, they don't know me. They can do it behind the screens. I bet you 99% of the time they wouldn't be able to do it to someone's face. You know what I mean?
No.
You can't take that stuff to heart. I know my mission is to help the refrigeration industry. There's a lot of haters out there. There's lots of people that don't like what I do. Hey, Trevor, what a foolish person that is. You know what I mean? That doesn't bother me, because I know what my mission is to help this industry grow, get more technicians in it, and help them grow to become the leaders of companies, to become their own business owner, to become the next teacher, the next generation, to teach the next generation of mechanics, right? So to me, social media is like YouTube and stuff, and Spotify and podcasts is helping the industry, helping to learn.
What about the argument? Because there's still some people out there, and I get this comment every once in a while, and it baffles me. What about the argument that people make that they paid a lot of money to learn what they know, and that I need to stop sharing that information because they paid money for that information, and it's not fair that I'm sharing it for free?
See, now they need to change. It's just a mindset for them.
It's an insecurity is what it is.
Yeah, it's a mindset, like, because I've been to university, I've been to college, I've been to 4 trade schools. So I know all about it. And I got business coaches right now. I got personal coaches. Like, I've got a lot happening, and I'm sharing this information to help others quicker and faster. I don't, yes, you may have went to school and you paid $50,000 or $100,000 for this. Good. I hope you learned something from it. You should share that knowledge with somebody else.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that the argument a lot of people have is, I think, again, this is my perception of their comments, is that they're afraid they're going to be replaced. And my answer to that, and most of the time when people show that insecurity that I say is an insecurity, I say, look, bro, you're not going to be replaced. This trade needs more technicians now than it's ever needed.
Yeah.
So we need to share information. Stop being afraid you're going to be replaced, because if you're a competent service technician, you're going to be employed for the rest of your life. So no problems there. Now, if you're a jerk and you really don't know what you're doing, well, you need to be scared. But if you are a competent service technician and know what you're doing, your job's not going anywhere. So don't be afraid.
Joe.
Well, one thing that I'm trying to push again in the industry is that, and people fight me on this all the time, like, is we need to have a standard of continued education. Just like nurses, massage
I
therapists.
agree.
You need to continue to learn. I see so many technicians don't know how to troubleshoot a digital compressor, don't know how to look at a variable speed. Electronics is the way it's going. People are complaining that, oh, well, I got my first Red Seal or Journeyman ticket 25 years ago. Don't need to learn anything new.
All right.
We need to figure out how to implement, and this is what I'm working on, continuing education.
Yeah. So people ask me all the time, what are my opinions on insert name of certification program? Okay. Because there's like 5 or 6 major certification programs. And my answer is this every single time. Any education is better than no education.
Right.
And what I like about the certification programs, I don't necessarily like the idea that you have to pay yearly to maintain that certification. But what I really like about all of them is, in order to maintain that education on top of what you have to pay yearly, you have to continue your education. You have to go to classes. You have to go to seminars, whatever. So I encourage everybody out there to get certified as much as you can with whatever, certification program you can find, because they're all going to require, to maintain that certification, that you continue your education. And the worst thing we can do in this trade is become complacent and not better ourselves.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing we can do. Always continue learning.
I agree. Craig just mentioned that in chat. Sorry, Trevor. Craig just mentioned that in chat. I love HVAC since you can always learn more, and you can always learn more, and it doesn't end ever.
Never.
Ever.
Every day is changing. We have more technology in this trade right now in the last 5 years than we've had in the previous 100, whatever you want to say. I mean, everything is changing and it's evolving every day. And guess what? Every day they're coming out with a new flavor of refrigerant. And guess what? We get to continually work on all this stuff. We've got this new refrigerant, and guess what? It runs high discharge temps. So we have to add this discharge temperature controlled valve to help cool the compressors. And we have to learn that. We have to learn how, this blend affects the way we size these. And every day there's something new. And that's the cool thing. Because I enjoy being challenged, and I enjoy being humbled by the equipment and realizing, whoa, I need to step back because I got comfortable and I thought I understood this and everything just changed, and it's like, I have fun with that stuff. So, but well, right on. I think it's time we wrap this stream up. We've been going for a bit now. Of course, whenever we have you on, Trevor, we can keep going forever and forever, but we don't want to drive everybody nuts with a 2.5 hour long stream, but we definitely want to have you on again, Trevor. So again, what's your website again, Trevor, for the people that don't see what Joe posted?
refrigerationmentor.com.
Okay.
Yeah, check it out.
Trevor and I have talked about it, and I've been dragging ass on it, but Trevor and I are going to do something together soon too, some kind of a collaboration where I'll get him on my thing and we'll do something. So we'll definitely get him popping up on that. It's just a matter of me, getting off my ass and
actually pulling the trigger on it.
Actually pulling the trigger and doing something, and actually doing more work than just my routine.
Do it, because that'd be cool.
We'll definitely do it, and of course, then Trevor's going to explode and become bigger than everybody, and
Well, after tonight, I mean, there's no telling how far this guy's going to go.
Oh yeah, I just seen the ticker was just rolling like
you
this.
Might as
like,
well, you might as well just
like
get
that.
a plot of land in the Hollywood Hills and build a mansion, because.
Trevor, I gotta say, every time you come on here, well, this is the second time, but even the first time, we always think, oh, we forgot to cover that, or oh, we forgot to cover that. So we definitely need to have you on again. We'll talk a little bit more, and we'll try to actually cover some of the stuff that we said we were going to cover, because we always go off on a tangent and have fun talking about this and that. And I think tonight's conversation was really good too. The key points that I took away from everything is that we need to continue our education. We need to continue to better ourselves. And I think that's the most important thing we can do, because, everything is changing, and we obviously need to continue our
seasons. The seasons are even a changing.
And the leaves keep falling. All the leaves are falling, and the sky's turning gray. And you know what I
Depressing
call
me. You're
that?
depressing me with your wrap it up speech. Oh my God, Chris!
That's
I want to
such
put
a
my
happy
finger
song.
through my eye and swirl it
that's
around in my brain.
Oh, that's such a happy song, you know?
Ugh.
I didn't hear that
Your
song.
yacht rock and
That's not yacht rock. Shut up. Come on. Don't make fun of my music
garbage.
choice. You know, Bill gives me so much abuse because of the choices in music that I make. So what if my radio's always
Ugh.
to yacht rock and I'm listening to Michael
Loggins.
McDonald and Kenny Loggins all the time? You know what? That's what makes me happy. So, Bill, you know what? You can take your northern attitude and you can go pound sand.
Thing watching guys in canoes dancing.
Oh, you got it. You can't tell me that video that I shared of the dude doing the canoe dance
It was different.
Welcome to the show, Trevor.
pretty epic. So, all right.
It's officially off the rails.
It's officially off the rails. So let's wrap this up.
This is about the time of night where our ADD medicine wears off, and we're like, I don't know, what's that over there? What's this going on over here?
It's a puppy.
Oh, a
So,
puppy.
Yeah. So for all the techs out there, small, simple steps. You know, you don't have to be an expert tomorrow. Have goals. I want to learn how to troubleshoot a scroll better. I want to learn how to troubleshoot a low pressure control. Small, simple step. Learn one thing a day, even one thing a week if you have to, and then build on that. It doesn't have to take 10 minutes a day. If you want to learn something, learn how to troubleshoot a TX valve, not the whole thing, just one section of it. How do I mount the bulb properly? Whatever it is, small, simple steps will get you to your goals. So,
Yep. Very good point.
Agree.
I think on that note, Adam, you should hit the button.
Trevor?
Thank you very much.